Did you ever know any grown-ups who got married and then later they got a divorce? Well, it is something that people can talk about, and it's something important. I know a little boy whose mother and father got a divorce. And those children cried and cried. You know why? Well, one reason was that they thought it was all their fault. But of course, it wasn't their fault.
I'm sure Mother will be surprised to see us. Is that Mother? I guess Mother.
Dude, I think you'll likely recognize her.
I'm gonna go. Mother, welcome to Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
How was the bus ride?
It was wonderful.
Okay.
Do you remember Squirrel Hill?
Yes. My first home in Pittsburgh was in Squirrel Hill.
Yeah.
I think that's what scared me about Pittsburgh when I came here.
Was it?
It was dark.
It's dark, masculine.
Yeah, kind of rugged, secretive. There was more secrets, shall I say.
Is there anything you want to share with
No,
us now?
I certainly don't.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
My brother and I took my mother to get her hair and nails done at what we thought was the salon next to our old apartment. Oh my God.
Is this it, Carl?
This is our apartment.
Is this it?
I cannot believe that this is our apartment. This is the house I grew up in. I cannot believe that. When I first moved to Pittsburgh, were you surprised that I moved to Pittsburgh after 20 years of being away?
I thought, isn't that just the way it is? You know, ironic that of all the cities you could have picked to go back to was my least favorite one in the world, which I was so happy to be disconnected with. Richard and I had a final blow up, and I just left. I was hurt one time too many, and that if I had any pride left, I had to go on with my life.
When you left, and you left this apartment, the Nassau's down the street took us in on the weekend, and when we couldn't go to New York City on the Greyhound bus, it was the people here in Pittsburgh who actually picked up the slack and said, oh, you know, don't you think on some level? They said, hey.
Yes, and I think that, you know, you stood on your own 2 feet here in Pittsburgh without your mother, and even though it seemed like, oh, my mother left me and I'm only 17 years old, there's a lot of people that came to this country when they were 17 and started whole worlds, because maybe people have to be on their own. The earlier, the better. When you're forced into it, you find that you can survive. You got that job with the Nassau's. You got acquainted with them. I didn't even know them.
They own the St. Elmo Hotel, which led me to writing St. Elmo's Fire.
That's right.
It all works out. Sometimes your worst times turn out to be your best times. If you had never left, I would never have been a bellhop at the St. Elmo. I wouldn't have met Lynn Snyderman, written the short story, which came in the movie, and then I wouldn't have been able to get my wife, Natalie, as my gym teacher points out. So maybe the worst of Pittsburgh is actually going to lead to change and be this great city again like it was 100 years ago.
I hope so, for everybody's sake.
But the weird thing is, does place really make a difference? Does me being in Pittsburgh mean I have to give up my dreams of being in what you call the big time? Suddenly, do I need to go back to California where they're going to value me? I mean, you know, I guess that's the big question.
Well, I think that you moving to Pittsburgh only gave you the freedom of this, because there's a lot of security.
We have a guest visitor here.
Oh my goodness, there is Richard. How
Richard.
did he know that we were going to be here under this tree?
You look wonderful.
Thank you. Well, my son had me beautified all day. This is the Richard. This is the man that drove me out of Pittsburgh into New York. See?
How are you?
Fine. The great love of my life.
Hey, this was not planned, right? You just walked
I
into
know.
this. This is what Pittsburgh
going
thing.
to the bagel
See, on the street where you live, he still walks by the apartment where we live.
Every day. I know interpersonal relationships are difficult, but we've overcome that, and it's through you and Tom. Really,
Yes.
that's it.
Raindrops are falling on my head.
Don't forget my suitcase on the other
I'll get your suitcase, Mother. Watching Richard and my mother together made me realize that it was my tough childhood in Pittsburgh that made me who I am.